A day after United Nations General Assembly voted overwhelmingly on the resolution seeking a ceasefire on Israel-Hamas hostilities, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has warned that the ongoing war on Hamas is going to be decisive. Israel has further said that it does not care about international support and that the war will see a total annihilation of Hamas. Meanwhile, the overnight rain and thunderstorm has further aggravated the dire condition of Palestinians fleeing the war and sheltering in makeshift tents. Good morning, I'm Prarambha Dahal. Let's begin with the main stories. Rashtriya Swatantra Party begins procedures for General Convention, holding conference in one ward of 7 provinces each. Massive delays seen in distribution of national identity cards, just around 2.5 million cards printed so far against 13 million applications. Israel says it will go all out in its fight against Hamas until the complete destruction of enemies. Rain in Gaza aggravate the condition of Palestinians. And Paris Saint-Germain scraped through to UEFA Champions League knockout phase following a 1-1 draw against Borussia Dortmund. Newcastle United of England crash out. Rashtriya Swatantra Party has begun the process for General Convention by holding party summits in 7 wards of 7 provinces. Rashtriya Swatantra Party is holding its ward conferences in 7 wards of each province today. The central leaders have been deployed for the ward conventions. Party General Secretary Mukul Dhakal has been deployed in Bharatpur Metropolis, Ward number 11 of Bagmati, Chief Whip Santosh Pariyar in Pokhara Metropolis, Ward number 10 of Gandaki, and Treasurer Lima Adhikari in Butwal Sub-Metropolis, Ward number 13. Meanwhile, Joint General Secretary Bipin Kumar Acharya has been deployed in Tikapur Municipality, Ward number 1 of Sudur Paschim, Organization Department Secretary Shankar Shrestha in Veri Ganga Municipality 6 of Karnali, Deputy General Secretary Sumana Shrestha in Jitpur Simera Sub-Metropolis, Ward number 2 of Madhes, and Central Member Bijay Jairu has been deployed in Itahari Sub-Metropolis, Ward number 20 of Koshi. The ward committees are to have 19 members. Rashtriya Swatantra Party is yet to have the date for the General Convention. Foundation has been laid for the new building of Janata School in Udaipur. Former Minister for Foreign Affairs Narayan Khadka and Deputy Chief of the Indian Embassy based in Nepal, Prasanna Srivastav, jointly laid the foundation of the new building of the school being built with the aid of the Indian Embassy. The building has been constructed at an investment of around 43.3 million rupees and is expected to complete within a year and a half. According to Belaka municipality, 20% of the cost of construction will be borne by the municipality, while 80% will be funded by the embassy. The government has adopted a digital measure to address the flaws in the citizenship certificate. Although people will not receive the national identity cards instantly, they can register their personal details and receive the national ID card number. The number of service seekers have increased at concerned administrations in recent times, as passports can only be acquired based on the national ID card number. Sudha Rai of Lalitpur had applied for a national ID card in the beginning of Nepali year 2078. She had been told that she would receive a message after a national ID card was ready to be collected, but she has yet to receive the document. However, Geeta Devi Sharma, who had applied for a national ID card 13 months ago, has already received it. In the meantime, Milan Sharma, who had applied for the personal document along with Geeta, has yet to receive it. Besides public, former Chief Secretary Bimal Koilala too has not received his national identity card. Koyala had reached the district administration office 10 months after he applied for the national ID to see if it was ready. However, he was told that he must apply for it once again. Koyala took it to digital platform to express his sour experience. Homnath Amgai of Gorkha had reached the department at 5 a.m. yesterday and had received a token. However, he was not able to provide his biometric details despite waiting for his turn until 4 p.m. The department has been distributing national identity cards through the local levels, district administration offices and various administrations in the capital. Crowd is witnessed in all administrations on a daily basis. 13.6 million applications have been filed to obtain national identity card as of now, while only 2.5 million have been printed. The government, in its 15th periodic plan, had a target of providing national identity card to all citizens within the period of 5 years. However, people have not received the multi-purpose personal document amid the authorities' failure to prioritize its printing. It is now time for our segment Public Pulse, where you text us with your opinion.
Public Pulse.
The question is, what is your take on the delay in distribution of national identity cards? Your options are A. Poor management, B. Lack of technical knowledge, and C. Too many service seekers. The voting is on. Type NEWS, select your option A, B or C and send it to 34001 to share your opinion with us. In our Public Voice segment, we've asked in several provinces what should be done to make the justice delivery process efficient. Let us now take a look at what they had to say.
न्यायाधीशदेखि अदालतका सबै कर्मचारीहरूले आफ्नो काम चाहिँ छिटो छरितो रूपले सेवाग्राहीहरूको काम सम्पन्न गरौँ भनेर सबैले चाहिँ त्यसरी काम गर्यो भने काम छिटो छरितो रूपमा सम्पन्न हुने हुन्छ।
स्थानीय तहमा जुन न्यायिक समितिहरू छन् र उपमेयर साहबको नेतृत्वमा रहन्छ र त्यो न्यायिक समितिलाई अलिकति अधिकार प्रत्यारोहण गरेर अधिकांश मुद्दाहरू न्यायिक समितिबाटै छिनोफानो गर्न सक्ने कानुनी अधिकार उपलब्ध गराउनु पर्दछ।
पदाधिकारीहरूले सहज रूपमा यसलाई चाहिँ सहजीकरण गरिदिनु हो भने त्यति झन्झटिलो छैन।
अनलाइन नै दर्ता गर्ने, अनलाइन बहस हुने, अनलाइन गर्ने भन्ने कुराहरूमा चाहिँ हामीले बढी फोकस गर्नुपर्छ।
कागजी प्रक्रियाबाट भएका कुरालाई हटाएर त्यो मुद्दाहरू चाहिँ छिटो छिटो गरेर चाहिँ फैसला गर्यो भने मात्रै कार्य सम्पादन छिटो हुनेछ।
दक्ष चाहिने न्यायाधीशहरूलाई कार्यालयमा स्थापना गर्नु पर्यो।
अनलाइनबाट नै टाइम लिने, तारिख लिने अनि डेटहरू लिने हुन्छ नि, त्यो गर्दाखेरि अझै राम्रो हुन्छ।
दर्ता हुन साथ त्यसलाई अगाडि बढाइहाले
आधुनिक टेक्नोलोजीहरू प्रयोग गरेर छिटो छरितो बनाउनु पर्यो।
न्याय लिनेहरूका लागि पनि त्यो सचेतना गरायो भने, प्रक्रियाको बारेमा अवेर भयो भने त्यसले पनि छिटो छरितो गराउनमा मद्दत पुग्छ।
वर्षौं लाग्छ, पीडित भएर मान्छे मोड्छ, जान्छ, सब भइहाल्छ, लेकिन न्याय पाउँदैन।
निष्पक्ष रूपमा सबैलाई समान व्यवहार गर्नु पर्यो।
Welcome back. Time now for the international news. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu told soldiers in Gaza over the radio yesterday that they would continue the offensive until victory is achieved. Israel announced its worst combat losses for more than a month on Wednesday after an ambush in the ruins of Gaza City and faced growing diplomatic isolation as civilian deaths mounted and a humanitarian catastrophe worsened. Israel reported 10 of its soldiers killed in the past 24 hours, including a full colonel commanding a forward base and a lieutenant colonel commanding a regiment. It was the worst one-day loss since 15 were killed on October 31. Israel had global sympathy when it launched a campaign to annihilate the Hamas militant groups that control Gaza after fighters stormed across the border fence on October 7, killing 1,200 Israelis, mostly civilians, and seizing 240 hostages. But since then, Israel has besieged the enclave and laid much of it to waste. Gaza's health ministry said on Wednesday at least 18,608 people have been killed and 50,594 injured in Israeli strikes on Gaza since October 7. Many thousands more are feared lost in the rubble or beyond the reach of ambulances. Meanwhile, heavy rains in southern Gaza brought more despair to displaced Palestinians living in a tent camp in Rafah. Displaced Palestinians spoke about lack of warm clothes, blankets, and protection from rain. According to the United Nations and Gaza Health Ministry, conflict has led to starvation, displaced 85% of the population from their homes, and caused diseases to spread. The head of the United Nations Palestinian Refugee Agency UNRWA denounced on Wednesday a move by Switzerland to cut aid as the Gaza Strip faces a humanitarian crisis described as apocalyptic by the United Nations. Speaking at the Global Refugee Forum in Geneva on Wednesday, UNRWA Chief Filipe Lazzarani deplored the agency's chronic underfunding a day after he expressed disappointment in the Swiss initiative. Switzerland's National Council, the lower house of the Federal Assembly, approved cutting an annual contribution of $22.83 million to the agency by 116 to 78 votes on Monday. The initiative's author, who was part of a parliamentary delegation that visited UNRWA earlier this year, has argued that the agency lacked objectivity. The upper house is scheduled to assess the initiative later today. Both houses have to approve for the proposal to be put into effect. Lazzarani, who said last month he believed there was a deliberate attempt to strangle UNRWA's operations, said that the agency's capacity to do its work in the Palestinian enclave was on the verge of collapse. other UN bodies deplored the Swiss move. Filippo Grandi, the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, said he hoped Switzerland and other countries would continue funding the UNRWA. Established in 1949 following the First Arab-Israeli War, UNRWA provides services including schooling, primary health care and humanitarian aid in Gaza, the West Bank, Jordan, Syria and Lebanon. UN Nation Secretary-General Antonio Guterres said in a statement that a phase-out of fossil fuels was needed to solve the issue of climate change after the COP28 climate summit ended with representatives from nearly 200 countries agreeing to language that called for transitioning away from fossil fuel to avert the worst of climate change. The deal struck in Dubai after 2 weeks of hard-fought negotiations was meant to send a powerful message to investors and policymakers that the world is united in its desire to break with fossil fuels, something scientists say is the last best hope to stave off climate catastrophe. More than 100 countries had lobbied hard for strong language in the COP28 agreement to phase out oil, gas and coal use, but came up against powerful opposition from the Saudi Arabia-led oil producer group OPEC, which said the world can cut emissions without shunning specific fuels. The United States House of Representatives voted on Wednesday to formally authorize its ongoing impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden as Republicans unite behind the effort, even though Democrats say they have yet to find evidence of wrongdoing by the president. The Republican-controlled chamber voted 221 to 212 along party lines to approve the probe, which is examining whether Biden improperly benefited from his 53-year-old son Hunter Biden's foreign business dealings hours after the younger Biden refused to testify behind closed doors. The White House has dismissed the inquiry as unsubstantiated by facts and politically motivated. Biden is preparing for a possible 2024 election rematch with his Republican predecessor, Donald Trump. Trump is the first president in United States history to be impeached twice and is currently preparing for 4 upcoming criminal trials. Trump has also called these moves politically motivated. The effort will almost certainly fail to remove Biden from office. Even if the House votes to impeach the president, the Senate would then have to vote to convict him on the charges by a 2/3 vote, a near impossibility in a chamber where Biden's fellow Democrats hold a 51 to 49 majority.
On this vote, the yeas are 221 and the nays are 212. The resolution is adopted. Without objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Obligations under the Constitution. We are charged with providing the oversight of the executive branch, and we are the sole institution in the country granted the awesome power of impeachment. It is a power that must be used selectively and wisely, and only after full deliberations. With today's resolution, we're ensuring that the House will be able.
Japan's top government spokesperson announced his resignation as Chief Cabinet Secretary earlier today over a fundraising scandal that has dented public support for the current administration. Speaking at his regular news briefing, Hirokazu Matsuno said he submitted his resignation letter to Prime Minister Kishida to avoid causing delay in the policy process. Other ministers, including Industry Minister Yasutoshi Nishimura, Agriculture Minister Ichiro Miyashita and Internal Affairs Minister Junji Suzuki also announced their resignations on Thursday after Kishida said he was finalizing his 3rd cabinet shakeup in 16 months. The 4 ministers are all from the biggest and most powerful faction within the ruling Liberal Democratic Party LDP. Prosecutors have launched a criminal probe into the LDP's so-called Abe faction named after late Premier Shinzo Abe and begun questioning dozens of lawmakers for allegations of receiving about 500 million yen in fundraising proceeds missing from the party accounts. Heavy rains wreaked havoc in northeast Australia, downing trees, cutting power and forcing evacuations and road closures as residents face a risk of life-threatening flash floods. Jasper pummeled the far north regions of Queensland state, home to several resorts along the world-famous Great Barrier Reef, after making landfall yesterday as a Category 2 storm, 3 rungs below the most dangerous wind speed level. The storm, now downgraded to a tropical low, was tracking in a northwesterly direction toward the Gulf of Carpentaria, where it could intensify back to cyclonic strength over the weekend, Australia's Bureau of Meteorology said in its latest update. Despite the downgrade of the storm, the Weather Bureau warned residents in cyclone-hit regions that heavy rain was forecast there over the next 24 hours. A religious pilgrimage with juggling, red noses and oversized shoes filled Mexico City streets as professional clowns gathered on their annual procession to pay homage to the Virgin of Guadalupe. Clowns from all over Mexico carried altars and images of Our Lady of Guadalupe on their path to the iconic basilica devoted to the Virgin. The performers have been making the pilgrimage for over 31 years to thank the Virgin for work and prosperity in the new year. The Virgin of Guadalupe is the patron saint of Mexico and is revered by millions of Roman Catholic faithful and the believers.
A la villa, con respeto y devoción.
And now before we wrap up, here's a look into the top stories one more time. Rashtriya Swatantra Party began procedures for General Convention, holding conference in one ward of 7 provinces each. Massive delay seen in the distribution of national identity cards, just around 2.5 million cards printed so far against 13 million applications. Israel says it will go all out in its fight against Hamas until the complete destruction of enemies reign in Gaza aggravate the condition of Palestinians. And Paris Saint-Germain scrapes through to Champions League knockout phase following a 1-0 draw against Borussia Dortmund. Newcastle United of England crash out from the group stage. That is all for the moment. Our next English bulletin is at 6 p.m. in the evening. Thank you for staying with us. Have a beautiful day ahead.